Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration looking into one of the most, well, visually diverse populations anywhere on Earth. Just imagine this for a second. You're walking through the streets of Algiers, the capital, right? And just within a few blocks, you could easily see kids with really striking light eyes, maybe curly hair, then maybe some men with quite dark skin, sharp jawlines, and perhaps women strolling by with this rich auburn hair. It's quite something. And the thing is, this isn't just, random. It's actually a living tapestry, a real testament to Algeria's incredibly rich and, frankly, complex history. So, our mission today is to unpack the fascinating reasons why Algeria's people look so different. We've got a great stack of sources, cutting edge scientific research, detailed historical accounts, anthropological studies, too, all to discover how genetics, geography, and culture have kind of collided over thousands of years.
Yeah.
And the result, a population that genuinely defies any simple definition. You're basically about to get a shortcut to being really well informed with some truly surprising facts about this North African nation. Might reshape how you think. Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this incredible mosaic of traits that makes Algerians so unique.
It really is an extraordinary place, and our sources definitely underscore that immediate visual impact you mentioned.
Yeah.
Researchers often describe Algeria as like one of the major crossroads of human history. It's a point where all these diverse elements have just profoundly shaped the people. A population that truly does challenge our usual categories, the sheer range of appearances you see there. It's a direct reflection of this ancient, ongoing story.
Yeah, that initial visual diversity is exactly what jumped out from the source materials, the first thing, right? And you're right, walking through Algiers or really any big city there, it's not subtle variation. It's like you see everything. Those light-eyed, curly-haired kids playing soccer, Then maybe men with darker complexions, really distinct profiles, sipping mint tea. And then, yeah, maybe tall, fair women with that striking auburn hair near the coast. The spectrum is just, wow.
Yeah.
And like our historians and the sources quickly point out, this isn't just a roll of the genetic dice, it's deep.
Exactly. That visible diversity, it's the direct legacy of thousands of years of migration and interaction. It's like watching a living timeline. You have the indigenous Berbers, they're the foundational layer, the deep roots, but then came wave after wave, Phoenicians sailing in, the Romans building an empire, then the Arab conquerors, the Ottomans, the French colonists, and even this long history of sub-Saharan traders moving through. Each group wasn't just passing through. They left a real genetic mark, a cultural imprint. They meticulously wove together this rich tapestry we see today, this constant flux. It's precisely why Algerians look so incredibly varied.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. Let's dive into unpacking these visual differences, starting with something that often surprises outsiders. Eye color. Our sources highlight a pretty striking stat. About 10 to 15% of Algerians have blue or green eyes. Now, just for perspective, that's way higher than most of Africa, where dark brown eyes are like over 90%. That's a huge difference, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and it's a really clear example of these deep genetic roots we're talking about. That lighter pigmentation is particularly common among the Kabyle people. They're a major indigenous Berber group up in the northern mountains. It's a direct result of ancient Berber and Mediterranean influences. These genetic markers, they link them to southern Europe, shows very old population movements, intermarriage, long-lasting visible effects. But then you look south towards the Sahara, especially among the Tuareg, those iconic desert nomads. Dark brown eyes are almost universal there. And this is where geography just dictates adaptation, you see. Those darker eyes aren't random. They give crucial protection against the intense UV light in the desert.
Ah, right. So it's inheritance and environment shaping things over time. That's a key point. Okay, from eyes, let's look at skin tone. Our sources say Algeria has one of the widest ranges of skin tones in North Africa. Like in the coastal north, you find olive or even quite fair skin, often compared to Southern Europeans.
That's right. And it really explains that north-south gradient quite clearly. There was a significant study in 2018, it's in our sources, noting that melanin production in Saharan groups down south is, on average, like 20–30% higher than coastal groups. And this isn't just cosmetic. It's profound adaptation for survival. Darker skin is just better natural defense against that intense Saharan sun. Whereas the lighter tones up north reflect ties to Mediterranean climates, where that level of UV protection wasn't as critical. You really see it written on the skin.
That north-south gradient makes total sense, yeah. And what about hair, texture, and color? Algeria is described as one of those rare places where you can see pretty much every hair type in one country. We're talking curly, tightly coiled hair, more common in the south, linked to African ancestry, right? Versus wavy and straight hair appearing more often among the Kabyle and Chawi Berbers in the north. It's quite the spectrum.
And yeah, it extends to hair color too. While jet black and deep chestnut brown are very common everywhere.
Hmm.
Our sources, especially genetic studies, tell us that in some mountain regions, maybe up to 5–7% of people naturally have lighter shades, auburn, even blonde sometimes. Genetic studies back in 2017 linked these traits to ancient European admixture. That's a genetic mixing over time, specifically showing influences from like Iberia and Italy. It's just another amazing layer of deep history right there in their appearance.
Incredible how specific those links can be. Okay, let's round out the physical features with height and build. Sources give average heights. Men around 174 centimeters, women 162 centimeters. Pretty close to global averages, actually.
Yeah, those are the averages, but the regional differences really tell a story. Kabyle and coastal groups often tend to be slightly taller. Anthropologists think maybe better historical nutrition, plus that European genetic influence we mentioned. But then again, the Tuareg in the Sahara, those desert dwellers, they generally average leaner builds, often longer limbs, which is thought to be a classic evolutionary adaptation to desert heat, right? More surface area helps cooling. This kind of north tall, south lean pattern really mirrors the environmental adaptations and that gene flow over centuries. It reinforces that geographical impact.
Okay, so we've hit eyes, skin, hair, height, build. But here's where things get really interesting, according to the sources. The question of the typical Algerian face. If we ask, what does a typical Algerian face look like? The immediate answer from our sources is, well, there isn't one. It's basically a myth.
Exactly. And the sources break it down really well. Northern Berber groups, often characterized by, say, straight noses, high cheekbones, lighter pigmentation, features many might link to Mediterranean peoples. Then you look at the Arabized communities across the country,
Mm.
and it's a huge mix. Some individuals might have sharper, sort of classic Mediterranean profiles, while others might have softer features, maybe reflecting more Middle Eastern ancestry.
And down south, in the desert populations, you're perhaps more likely to see broader noses, fuller lips, traits tied distinctly to sub-Saharan admixture. It's like each region tells a different part of the story visually.
It completely challenges that idea of a single look. And the controversy, as our sources explain, often comes up because outsiders try to stereotype Algerians, maybe white Africans or Arab Africans, trying to fit them into neat boxes. But the real insight here is that Algerians aren't fully European or solely Arab or exclusively sub-Saharan. They are truly a unique, intricate blend of all three. And that blend itself, that is their defining characteristic. It kind of dismantles those simple external labels.
That perspective really makes the whole typical Algerian question feel, well, beside the point when you consider the history. And speaking of history, let's really get into those layers of influence, how they shaped genetics and appearance. This is where it gets super interesting.
It really does. To grasp the visual differences fully, you kind of have to trace these historical layers. They're literally written on people's faces. It starts way back, maybe 10,000 years ago. The first Berber ancestors settled North Africa. They established the indigenous base, hunter-gatherers, early farmers, adapting to the land. That's the foundation. Then around 1000 BCE, maybe a bit earlier, you get a big new influence. The Phoenicians, seafarers from modern Lebanon. They set up trading posts, then Carthage, powerful colonies along the coast. This brought new genes from the Levant, likely adding diversity to coastal features and complexions. After them, from about 200 BCE to 400 CE, come the Romans, imperial control. Roman soldiers, settlers. They intermarry with local Berbers. They leave behind distinct Mediterranean traits, maybe contributing to some of those straighter noses, lighter complexions, especially where Roman settlement was heavy. Both cultural and biological impact, you see.
Right. And then the really big shift, the Arab conquests in the 7th century, that must have been huge.
Monumental. Absolutely. The Arab conquest brought Middle Eastern genes, yes, but crucially, also the Arabic language and Islam. This profoundly reshaped identity across the whole region. Huge genetic infusion from the Arabian Peninsula, further mixing with the existing Berber and Roman-era pools, and it deeply impacted language and culture too. Then you fast forward 1500s to 1800s, the Ottoman Turks arrive, establish their empire. They introduced Turkish features, particularly noticeable in port cities, administrative centers where Ottomans settled and intermarried, maybe specific facial contours, different hair textures. Another layer, especially on the coast. And finally, French colonization, 1830 to 1962. Obviously fraught with conflict, but it also led to some intermarriage, cultural exchange with Europeans, adding yet another genetic layer to this incredibly complex picture. And the genetic studies. Our sources estimate modern Algerians carry on average something like 20–30% European ancestry, 20–25% Middle Eastern, and maybe 10–15% Sub-Saharan African, with the rest, the biggest chunk often, rooted in that ancient indigenous Berber heritage. It's truly a global genetic signature of one nation.
Wow. That paints such a vivid picture of Algeria as this incredible melting pot. But with all those layers, it must lead to some internal debates about identity, right? Our sources definitely highlight this ongoing discussion. Is Algeria more Arab or Berber? We know maybe 25–30% of Algerians still speak Berber languages, but Arabization policies in the 20th century really pushed Arabic as the main identity for many.
Exactly. And this linguistic and cultural tension, it absolutely shows up in how people talk about looks.
Yeah.
You have some Berber activists, for instance, who might passionately claim their lighter eyes or fairer skin prove indigenous uniqueness, separate from Arab heritage. On the flip side, Arab nationalists might emphasize shared Middle Eastern traits, linking Algerians to a wider Arab identity. But our sources are really clear. Both sides tend to oversimplify what's actually a much more blended reality. The truth is just far more mixed, and Algeria's amazing diversity is its identity. Trying to force it into one box misses the whole point.
You really feel that contrast in what the sources call sensory snapshots. Like, picture this. You're standing in Tamanrasset, deep in the Sahara. You see Tuareg men, maybe with those indigo veils, dark skin under the sun, tall, lean, moving with this amazing grace, maybe guiding camels, the crunch of sand. Then travel north up into the mountains to Tizi Ouzou in Kabylie, lush, green. And there you might notice families with striking green eyes, auburn hair, cool mountain air, maybe the smell of olive groves, fresh bread. It's the same country, but visually, atmospherically, worlds apart.
Hmm. And that contrast gets right to the emotional core, the deep connection people feel between appearance and their sense of self. For some Algerians, lighter features might symbolize a link to Europe, maybe modernity. For others, darker features are a proud reminder of deep African roots, of resilience. So the debate isn't just about looks, it's tied to belonging, to identity. Who are we? Where do we fit? But what's really encouraging, though, is a 2019 poll mentioned in our sources. It showed over 70% of Algerians see their mixed heritage as a source of pride, not division. They're not just tolerating it, they seem to be embracing the complexity.
Which brings us nicely to the big picture from this deep dive. It's so clear that Algeria isn't just a country. It's like a living genetic museum. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Our sources state pretty unequivocally that Algeria sits at one of the densest genetic crossroads in the world, full stop. This unique position, geographically, historically, is exactly why there's no single Algerian look. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Instead, what you have is this magnificent, breathtaking spectrum. Mediterranean fair to Saharan, dark, wavy hair to tightly coiled, blue eyes to deep brown. And this spectrum, it's not random. It tells this compelling story of trade, conquest, migration, resilience. It's a living archive of human history and adaptation right there in the people.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? Well, next time you meet someone from Algeria, maybe resist the urge to fit them into one single box. Instead, perhaps think of them as living history, a vibrant, amazing reflection of thousands of years of human journeys all converging in one extraordinary nation.
Which really raises an important question.
Yeah, and here's that question for you to think about. Do you believe national identity really should be tied to a single look, or is Algeria's profound diversity actually the true strength of its people? Something to ponder as you continue your own journey of discovery.